highvolumemusicradio.com. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour.
Hey, yo, Guru, you ready?
Business, marketing, accounting, social media, resources, strategies, tips, events. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour.
It's just savage business.
Grants, funding, capital, life
insurance,
annuities, finances, tax tips, strategies, music, business, local spotlights, business highlights, leadership, entrepreneurship. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour. highvolumemusicradio.com. Hey. Business Knowledge Broker Hour with Candace Joseph. You know what? This is a special occasion. You know, this is the Wednesday edition, right? So here we are, you know, in my home. And I have to say, this kind of feels kind of cool, you know, not like the normal Zoom meetings that I do with, you know, people in the studio. You know, I'm at home, you know, and I felt like this was the perfect setting for me to broadcast live today and just show the greatness of amazing people that I've met along the way in life, right? So today's special guest is my friend, Daniel Bruce Levin, author of the Mosiac. Because, you know, we're going to talk a little business. We're going to talk life. We're going to talk about spreading the love, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for in some way, some fashion. So tonight's show is special to me, and I thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope that it's special for you as well. And I just want you to get to know my friend Danny. Hey, Danny.
Hey, what a pleasure to be here, and what a nice introduction. You're such a super person. I love you. Where have you been my whole life? How come I only know you for such a short period of time, but feel like I know you for my whole life?
Well, you know what? I will be there for the rest of it and beyond.
I love that. As will I, my friend. As will I.
You know, I want to thank you for, you know, coming on, you know, an off-schedule night, Wednesday. But, you know, I really love my listeners. I love the fact that they tune in every week and, you know, they get that motivational. They get the dad jokes. They get the, you know, funny, crazy Candace, you know, but I love the fact that I can meet people that can elevate my mindset, because that's what it's really all about at the end of the day. You know, every business owner I've met, every person that's ran a nonprofit, people in the community doing good, it's all about elevation. And we have to know how to live and operate in those spaces. And I just find it amazing. And then I get to meet cool people like you. So it's even better.
Mirror. I'm looking back and doing the same thing. That's great. So I love what you just said. And I love the idea of what happens when two people come together. Because there's magic that happens. You know, I'm a little narcissistic in my use of the word mosaic, because it's the book I wrote. It's a concept that I live by. But as an individual piece, we're beautiful. But when we combine those pieces together, when you and I connect, and all the people you're connected to, and all the people I'm connected to connect again, then we create this beautiful mosaic that may not agree with everything that everybody says, but that doesn't make it any less beautiful. It just becomes more beautiful. And the more connected we get, the more connected we are, the more beautiful the mosaic becomes. And if it can happen in artistry, if it can happen in art, why in the world can't it happen in day-to-day life? So the mission of the mosaic, the goal of the mosaic, it's just to say, no matter how different you think you are, we've played that game for a long time. What about playing the game of seeing where we share similarities? What about listening to each other? Business tip 1. When was the last time you asked the people in your office how they felt about a project you were doing? I'm not just talking about the people that are running the project. I'm talking about the people that clean up your office. I'm talking about the people that type your memos. I'm talking about the people who deliver your coffee. I'm talking about the people that nobody asks their opinion of. Every single human being has a point of view, and every single human being will contribute to the brightness of what you're doing if you give them a chance. And when you give them a chance, can you imagine the culture you create?
You know, that's the thing. And I want everybody watching on Facebook Live right now, a little bit of background with how I met Mr. Daniel Levin, right?
Yep.
This is a thing. I found a podcast group online, just people that are for guests and people that are looking for guests. And for me, I was asking other people to come on my show. Other people were saying, okay, well, will you be on my show? And I'm a night owl. So I'm scrolling Facebook in the wee hours of the night. I'm not going to tell you what time it was, but it was pretty late. And I came across this post that said, I want to have 50 conversations with 50 people. And I love it. I love it. Because he said it straight from the back. No sales pitch.
Yeah.
No sales pitch, just free flow. And we did it. And I had a blast.
Yeah, I loved you from the moment you walked in the room. And how is that possible? How is it possible that someone you didn't even know existed 10 minutes ago can walk into the room and you can have such a deep connection with them? But it's happened. I've now had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conversations. And it takes such a short time for a stranger to become a friend. And it made me realize that if we would just take time to get to know one person that we don't know, just go up to them and ask them how you're doing. And let them share with you how you're doing. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to change them. You don't have to help them. You don't have to convert them. Just love them enough to care about how they're doing.
That's the amazingness about it. That's
yeah.
amazing.
There's something magical that happens when people feel that they're loved and accepted, listened to and heard, and acknowledged and validated. And that, what would that do for your business? Because remember, we're talking about business now. What would it do for your business if the people in your business felt that they could say anything that came to their mind, that they could tell you exactly what they felt, and they would be loved and accepted? They wouldn't be chastised. They wouldn't be put to the side. They wouldn't be saying, hey, you can't say negative stuff like that. The only reason people thoughts become negative is because they weren't listened to when they started to say it positive. I have a developmentally delayed daughter, and she tries to speak and people can't understand her. So when she speaks and people don't understand her, she'll yell. When she yells and people don't understand her, she'll tantrum. When she tantrums and people don't understand her, she'll attack. But if they would understand her, she would never have to do any of that. And that went on for me for a long time. 15 years that happened in my life with her. And she would do that, go through that behavior. And this is the woman I love. She's 31 years old. This is the woman I love more than anybody in my life. I want to hear what she's saying so badly. And one day in the midst of her rage where she was running to attack me, I said to her, Elisa, you mean more to me than anything in the whole world. I want to hear what you are saying. Can you try and talk to me without using words? From the midst of her rage and her anger, she slowed down and a big grin appeared on her face. And I said, what's up? And she looked at me in perfect English and said, I am, Daddy. I said, what the heck do you mean you are, Daddy? How are you doing that? And she pointed her finger to the side of her head. And what I understood was she was telepathically communicating to me, and I had heard her, but I didn't trust that it was real. Because how do you believe that some developmentally delayed kid is telepathically talking to you? But from the moment I got that, I realized that she stopped tantruming, she stopped yelling, she stopped attacking. But I was greedy. I went further than that. I looked into the businesses that I work with. I looked into the families that I talk to. I looked into the government places where I'm called sometimes to give my services. And I found exactly the same behavior. When people speak and they don't get heard, they yell. When they yell and they don't get heard, they get negative and they create a tantrum. They create a scene. When that scene doesn't get heard, they attack. They try to destroy a business, a company, a person's reputation. They'll sit on a ledge and shoot people in a square. They'll blow up a building, or any version of those things. So if someone is angry in your business, if someone's saying something to you with an edge, why don't you just listen to them and say, hey, I'm sorry, I haven't heard you. Tell me what you really want to say. Because I don't believe you really want to be angry at me. I just believe I haven't been able to hear you. My bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The thing about it is that comes across in different ways, too. Like you said about your business, because I could say firsthand, you're dealing with people in different personalities, and you don't know, all of their backstory, and you don't know what they're currently dealing with in their day-to-day lives. Sometimes misconceptions can be there. People assume things. You're correct. I'm a person, I always try to be fair. And, I know I'm a person, I'm always on the move. I'm always on the go. I'm always going to this thing or that thing and this meeting and that meeting. But I try to, when I can, take that time out to just say, hey, what's going on? Last couple of months have been a whirlwind, and I could just honestly say that for me, personally and professionally. But I've tried to see the beauty every day, Yeah. And that's the thing. I love what you said about listening, because a lot of times people they'll misjudge a situation. They'll misjudge a business deal, a phone call, or, maybe they didn't hear the instructions right, And so sometimes we have to take a step back and say, okay, well, as the giver of that message, how did I give it?
Yeah.
Did I fully explain myself? Did I have, because sometimes people have thoughts in their head and then they'll just say it and it'll be halfway of the thought and you're like, okay, wait, I didn't get the whole picture. So for me, I try to write notes to remember things, to make sure, hey, I'm gonna make sure I say these key things on the phone or during a meeting or in an email or when I give a speech. Like I try to put those key things down and, make sure that I'm heard and I'm understood. And I know for me, a lot of times when, especially as a business owner, especially right now, with everything being up in the air, sometimes you have to figure out that lane to be able to draw out the noise.
Yeah.
And that within itself could be a hard thing. People are dealing with situations that they've never had to deal with before, COVID and trying to vote, then trying to figure out the social distancing. Well, hey, somebody is only 5 feet and 2 inches and not 6 feet. Do I get upset or do I just let it go?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And the beauty of doing so many conversations, and I've had hundreds of them now in the room, is that every single time I think I know who a person is when they walk in the room, I do not know who a person is when they walk in the room. Every single time. And when I listen to the stories that go on and I start to piece together why they are, and how beautiful their response is rather than how limited their response is, it's a literally moment of transformation that I can't even imagine and that I want to just share with you. And it just comes from taking the time to listen to what's going on in a person's life. I did something with the Jamaican government, and it's not going to come as any surprise, but they were at wit's end with each other. They were fighting each other left and right. And so I said, I want to just do a little something with you. I want to play a game. We call it in America, Whisper Down the Lane. Have you ever played the game where you whisper down the lane? So I gave them a saying that was a little complicated. And I told them to tell that into the ear of the next person. And there were 40 people in the room. So I said, you just keep telling it down the line to the person next to you. And and when the person is at the end, you just tell us what you heard. They couldn't have garbled that thing more if you scripted it. What the first person said and what came out, what was not even remotely on the subject, let alone the character, let alone the proper words, let alone the inclination of what was, there was nothing about the first statement that the last statement represented. And what happens is somewhere along the line in hearing something, we hear something else. And
Wow.
we share what we
You
hear
know,
with somebody.
I think I love that because I'm sitting here, the reason why I'm laughing and I'm just like, put my hand in my head. Okay. When I was in school, I remember they used to play that. And it was like the last person had to run back to the teacher and give the teacher the message. And this is the thing. I noticed how, like you said, by the time it gets to the end, the message is totally different. And the teacher goes to each row, and it was like 5 rows. They would say, okay, what did you get out of this? What did you get? What did you get? And so then the one row that was like the victor, everybody's like, yeah, we won, yeah, we won. But I remember for me as a kid, I used to sit back and say, okay, well, nobody really won because we really didn't listen to digest information. You know, like
Yeah.
you sit back and you think about it. And it was cool stuff that the teacher used to do, like math equations or history facts or, you know, what's the proper phrases in English. And nobody got that. They just knew that they won.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And that's how we live our lives. We just care about winning. We don't really care about listening. And if you look at the way the world operates around us, that we're no longer kids playing the same game, but we're playing the same result. We're not listening. We just want to win. And in fact, we'll say whatever we need to say in order to win. And we'll say that that person told us that when they may or may not have told us that. And so in your businesses, how sure are you that what you're saying is actually being heard? And what is being heard is being transferred to the people that need to hear it. And what's the people that need to hear it are transferring to your clients. How sure are you of that thought chain and that action chain?
True statement. True statement. And, you know, I remember when I first started in business, I was one of those people that would have a conversation on the phone. I would write the notes out, and then, you know, I would type the email out. And then I would sit there and say, oh, wait, I think I missed a detail.
Right.
I remember first starting out in business, I was like, okay, well, how do I call the person back and tell them that? But I had to learn. And then sometimes, especially when dealing with design work, like with logos or websites and that kind of thing, and they're like, but when we're on the phone, I said, and I'm like, oh okay, well, I missed that detail. Sometimes, you know, in business, that can throw off the whole deal. That can throw the business deal out the window. One little detail missed, or one thing that wasn't checked off the list, and you can miss the whole vibe. You could just miss everything.
Absolutely. And so I want to bring up another point, if I could, because we spoke in the green room about Hay House, and I had the opportunity to work with the premier self-help publishing company in America, and maybe around the world, because when I came, they were doing about $3 million a year in sales. And when I left, they were doing $100 million in sales. And that was 10 years later. And we were a self-help publishing house. So I said to them when we came, we should have everybody who publishes self-help books published with us. And they said, Danny, you're dreaming, because the big people who publish self-help are with the big publishers. They're never going to publish with us. And I said, never is a long time. We have to figure out a way to get it, so that we have to figure out something we can do they can make it possible that they will publish with us. And they said, Danny, it's never going to happen. I said, well, are you willing to let me give it a shot? And they said, sure. So I created a product that no one had ever created before. They were the card decks. And I basically took Cliff Notes. That was something that I grew up with, and because I was really smart, but I didn't want to read books. I wanted to read the shortened version. So I could read in 15 minutes what people took 6 hours to read by reading the books. And I could get the information. And I said, there must be a way to do that in a way that's more attractive, that's more current. And why don't we take the 50 top thoughts of an author who's on the New York Times bestsellers list and make them into beautiful reminder cards so that people can take the card that they want to use and have it.
Yeah.
We created these card decks. Bookstores said there's no place for them. We don't know what they are. We're not going to take them. We said, just try them. Let's just try them. Pretty soon, they were selling 10 times more than the books that were on the New York Times bestsellers list. And everyone who published in self-help wanted to publish a card deck with us because they were making easy money. We were doing all the work. They were making all the money, and we were just taking their top 50 thoughts. Then they became oracle cards, and they started to use them as, as predictive cards, just had to have fun, like the astrology section in a newspaper. And it became the #1 product in Hay House. It made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it brought us the authors that I was told would never come to us, because they said, if you're selling 10 times the amount of our books and we haven't done anything, what would you do if we gave you our books? And I said, well, that's a great question. Why don't we give it a shot? So in business, it's not only important to listen to what's being said, it's important to see what's beyond where we are. How do we see the next step? How do we see the thing that no one's doing, that when we present it, everybody's going to say, oh, no, you can't do that. But when we stay with it, it's the innovation that changes our business and changes our life.
You are right about that. See, this is why we connect. This is why we connect, because, I tell people all the time, especially for new entrepreneurs coming in, right? Like you said, you guys did something that was innovative. It was different. Nobody was doing that. And at first, people are like, okay, well, maybe, maybe not. I don't know if that'll work. And then you put it out there, and it's a beautiful experience. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Sales not too shabby either.
Yeah. I mean, from $3 million to $100 million in 10 years is not anything. I think it's something every company would want to have. And that's what happened. And so we just have to have the courage to listen to ourselves, to be able to be still enough to hear what our own inner voice is saying, to trust the vision that we see, and to create the vision that we have. And we'll fall down sometimes. We'll make mistakes. Of course we will. If you're not making any mistakes and you're not failing any time, you're in the wrong business. You got to make some mistakes. Because if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking chances. And if you're not taking chances, you're not going to ever innovate. Every once in a while, you might be able to get something without taking a risk. But if you don't go outside of your comfort zone and risk, if you don't grow the edge of your comfort zone will always remain where it is. And you'll be comfortable in a little place which will never innovate. One of the things that I always suggest people do is I ask them, how can you grow the edge of your comfort zone? How can you expand it out? Like, it's okay for you to still be in it, but just make it 4 times the size, 10 times the size, 100 times the size. How comfortable are you now? And when you get comfortable in the comfort zone, in the growing edge of your comfort zone, guess what? It's time to grow it again.
You are giving nuggets, my friend. This is why we connect. I tell people all the time, it doesn't have to be something that's perfect when you first start. If you got to start small and do the work. Keep studying your craft, keep expanding your mind, your thoughts. And just like you and I connected, even the people that surround you in your network, you you have to be able to see a vision in order to grow it. And I know what you're saying about what do you do if you've reached, okay, you reach the capacity of your, your growth or your value, your mindset, and you have to expand further. It's kind of like sometimes, even for me, I have to sit back and say, okay, well, how am I going to do that? What do I do next? Which direction do I go? And sometimes that could be something that you have to sit back and, for me, I meditate on it. I think about it. I research it. I don't sit there and pull out thousands of statistics about what could happen in this situation. And then sometimes I know for me, when I get to that uncomfortable moment, it's overwhelming. It's exciting. And for the first time in my life, probably in about 10 years or so, I think I'm doing it with no fear for the first time. And I'm good with growth. I'm good with scaling. I'm good with that. I'm glad about the journey. I think for me, that's the best part about entrepreneurship is the actual journey. Because, we can sit there and map out the A to the Z of everything we want to do, right? We can sit there and say, okay, this is what it's going to look like. This is what I'm going to do. And then sometimes you get those game changers that come out of nowhere. And sometimes I'm like, okay, let me just do something to see if I can complete it.
Yeah.
Let me try to teach myself this just to have a working knowledge of it. If someone ever comes into my life and say they need this, everybody can say, oh, you have to be expert level at this to run a business. You have to be expert level. No, I just need to be able to have experts on speed dial while I learn my craft.
100,000%. And I want to push a point that you said and see what you think, not because I want to confront you, but because I want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah.
One of the things I've always done is I've looked outside my field of excellence to other people in other fields of excellence. So for instance, when I was growing a book publishing company, I looked at the way doctors perform surgery because I wanted to just see how people take risks and what people feel like. So there was something you just said that I just want to invite you to question with me. Okay. I don't feel scared anymore. I know how comfortable and good that feels. But I remember my wife was dying of cancer. She had an inoperable tumor on her spine. There was only one doctor in America that would even attempt the surgery. And when we went to see him, with all due respect, he was a real a-hole. He was arrogant. He was aggressive. He took a couple minutes with her and he walked out of the room and made her feel like terrible. And I walked out after him and I said, hold it, I want to stop you right here. Who in the hell do you think you are? I know you're the best doctor in the world. You're the only doctor that's willing to do the surgery, but I would rather my wife not have the surgery than have you put your hands on her with that attitude, because you might be saving her life, but you're killing her right now. What gives you the right to do that? And he stopped and to his credit, he said, I'm so sorry. He said, you came into my office. Your wife is a beautiful young woman and she's going to die. And that hurts me so much that I can't deal with the fact that she's a human being. So I have to dehumanize her. I have to make her a thing or a number or a statistic so that I don't have to go home at night and try and sleep and not be able to sleep, because I know that in my hands, this woman could die while I'm doing surgery on her. He said, would you mind if I went in there and apologized to your wife? I said, no, that's appropriate and beautiful. Thank you. And so when the surgery came, I said to him, are you nervous? He said, oh shit, yeah. Pardon my language. But that was his language. And I said, why? Why are you nervous? He said, Danny, if I enter into a surgery, I'm the place people come where nobody else wants to do the surgeries. If I enter into a surgery and I don't feel that bead of sweat dripping down my back, I postpone the surgery because I'm not ready to do it. that fear is what will drive me to do extraordinary work. And so I want to ask you, as you walk through, and I know what you're saying, and I know the beauty of feeling comfortable in your space, and comfortable enough in your space that you're willing to take risks from a comfortable place.
Yes.
But at the same point, I want to say to you, if you're really comfortable, are you in your comfort zone, or are you growing that edge? And for me, what I found in my life, and for people that are doing business, it's very hard for us to make those changes on ourselves. We have to work with somebody who will push us beyond what we'll push ourselves to do. Because when we accept that from somebody who has only our best at stake and won't put up with us ranting and raving that we're doing it the way we do it. Yeah. When you're doing it the way you're doing it, it's because you're in your comfort zone. If you're not scared to death at what you're doing, you're not doing it. You're not pushing the envelope enough.
Oh, yeah.
Push it. Especially you, because you have the ability to push it further than you are. You don't know me from Adam. If it doesn't resonate, throw it away. But
no,
if it does, and for people who are listening, I know it will for you. Push the edge of where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
If the work you're looking at doesn't scare the bejeebies off of you, doesn't make you say, I want to just stay under the covers today, I don't want to come out, then you are not thinking big enough.
Once again, nuggets. And the thing about it is, I do want to clarify a little bit. When I was talking about fear, for me, it's not necessarily fear of what I'm doing or what I see in the future. Oh, I'm at edge. I'm on the edge. Me in the past, whenever I've got to a point where, things are going to scale up, or I'm given a new opportunity, or I meet new people and they're pushing beyond their edge, right? I would revert back into safe mode.
Yeah.
And in safe mode, there was no growth. So when there's no growth, you get uninterested, you stop. And for me, when I say no fear, more so of, pushing beyond the edges and the realms and the things that I'm doing now. I know that I'm doing it and I'm walking that path and I'm pushing those edges. And I know that I'm not going to stop myself.
Love it.
I know that I finally got out of my own way and found who I am. So for me, when I talk about fear, I'm talking about it from of internal struggle, just within me. Because in the past, hey, things got a little too much work, a little too hard. I put a little bit more effort into it, or I'm taking my time away from friends and family and loved ones and, spouses, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, all right, well, this has become too much for me. I'm getting pulled in different directions. Okay, I need to stop.
Yeah.
This time it's like, all right, let me go and put my little pinky toe out there. Let's go ahead and push a little bit more. Let's create the path. Let's make the walkway. Let's do it. I think that part for me is the fear part. In the past,
Candace, I love that. I love that. And I want to just emphasize how important it is to ask questions that are uncomfortable. Because without asking that uncomfortable question to you, I wouldn't have had the clarity of what you just said to me, and I wouldn't have understood. And so questioning is such a beautiful thing if it's done with love and if it's done with compassion, because then it allows you to really understand what a person's saying, rather than say, oh, yeah, she's just in her comfort zone. That's not where she's at. You can tell. She's pushing the edge all along the way. So thank you for clarifying it for me.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I'm enjoying the journey. It's different this time around. And that could be because of everything. I think because I turned my thoughts from extrinsic motivation, the intrinsic, right? So for some of the listeners that are listening in, I want to make sure that I explain those two concepts. When it's extrinsic, you're looking at the accolades and awards and the monetary value of what you're doing and what it could bring. And you think about the car and the, nice house and the dog that's immaculately groomed in its own matching outfit to yours every day. So I stopped looking at things from if I do this, I can make more money and I can live better and I have a car, I can vacation more. I stopped looking at it from that standpoint, and I drew it back. And I told my whole team, I said, we're going to do this intrinsic. An intrinsic motivation is more so of how can I help my fellow man? How can I feel their pain? Because you're an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver. You're putting on a cape and you're ducking inside the phone booth and you're coming out like Superman to solve the day. So for me, I took a step back and said, well, when I thought about things in a monetary standpoint, to make more money, to have more things that at the end of the day, I'm not going to dust, I'm not going to clean, and they'll just become a stack of things. I started looking at it from, how can I help someone? How can I make impact while I'm here? Yeah. And I think for me, that has been the winning combination for me. And it's nothing wrong with any entrepreneur or any 9-to-5er that want to climb that ladder to reach that ultimate goal, to have that financial reward. But I feel that if I serve the people and it doesn't cost them a thing, then every reward that I want will come later as it organically is supposed to.
Yeah.
And
there's that saying. I think there's that saying that says, if you want to make $1 billion, touch 1 billion people's lives. And that's the way to make $1 billion. Because when you really care about people and touch people and change and give people what they need and you help them solve their problems, you will make all the money you need and more. So I love what you're saying.
Thank you. I know this is like the people that are listening in right now, and they're all on live. I know they're kind of like, okay, well, this is a different kind of flow for Candace. And I tell people all the time, like, I'm an introvert. So you talk about getting in your bed and crawling underneath your blanket. I'm like, yes, I understand that. I love it. But at the same time, I had to come to a point in my life when I said I got out of my own way, right? I had to sit back and say, okay, you got to throw back the cover. You can't sit in your room and play chess with yourself and listen to opera alone forever. How can someone know how you can help them and how you can make that impact if you stay comfortable within your own four walls?
So I want to address something that you said, because I like it and I love it. And I don't only like it, but it's different than what you normally do. And I hear that sometimes when I go on to real business podcasts. It's exactly what I'm trying to have happen. Like, I could talk to you about business stats and things to do and how to run a team and do all that. But that's what everybody's talking to you about. What I'm talking to you about is who shows up at the work that you do? Who are you in the workplace? Who are you in your family? Who are you in your community? Are you a victimized person? Are you a hero? Are you a listener? Are you a talker? Who are you and how do you show up? And how do you need to show up in order to make what you want to have happen? Who do you need to invite into your circle? From the guy with the big G on his sweatshirt to also the team that surrounds you. Because we're not going to do it on our own.
Yes.
We need each other to make this happen. So it's important to hear voices that don't sound like other voices. I remember, if I have time for one more story, and I know we got to go because I got to go too.
Yeah, no problem.
But I remember being hired to do an innovation workshop with the people in, I think it was New York, with the city that I went into, and we were on like the 70th floor of this building and in a high skyscraper. And I walked into the offices and everything was immaculate and beautiful. And I walked into the conference room and everybody was sitting there waiting, and there was 3-piece suits, and they had never seen me before. And the people that hired me didn't even know who I was. They hired me based on the comments of somebody else. And they're all immaculately dressed. And I came in nice jeans and a t-shirt. And I said, hi, how's it going? They said, I'm sorry, what do you need here, sir? We're about to have a meeting. And I said, oh, really? Okay. I'll get out as soon as I can. They said, what do you need? Are you here to collect the trash? And I said, yeah, maybe I am, actually. Come to think of it, I think I am. Where would that trash be? And they said, sir, it's in the can over there. I said, really? I don't think so. And they said, sir, we would appreciate it if you don't, like, we're not here to have a conversation with you. We're waiting for our presenter to come. I said, well, what would happen if your presenter was already here? And they would say, what are you saying? You're our presenter? I said, yeah, that's what you hired me to do. This is a workshop on innovation, on seeing things differently than the way you see things. How do you think you're doing so far? And they said, uh-oh, we better buckle our seatbelts. This guy means business. Because they expected me to look and be exactly like them. Well, if you expect people to look and be exactly like you, why hire somebody to do what you can do by yourself?
Yeah.
We had one of the most innovative processes that went on. Into their credit, they blew the roof off of their expectations because they finally got it. When you don't judge a book by its cover, when you don't judge an idea by what it feels like or you think it could be, when you don't judge what a person does for the amount of knowledge that he or she could provide for you, when you listen to what's in front of you, the world will tell you how to solve your problems. Yes. If you think this is different than what you've ever heard, enter into that difference. For some reason, you're here right now with us. How would seeing the world in a way that you've never seen the world before change everything about the way you do your job, change everything about the way your company runs? How would, if you listened to people instead of spoke to people, how would that change your marketing approach? How would that change the way your office operates? How would it change the culture of your company? How would it change your interaction with your clients and your providers? How would being different help you to be different? How would it allow you to grow the edges of your companies so that you could experience something like you've never experienced something before? Why not give it a try?
Hey, this is why we're friends. This is why we connected.
I love it.
This is why, because I tell everybody, you have to at least try. You can't stay the same. You're going to evolve. I'm not the same person I was a year ago or even yesterday. So I love the fact that you said those words, and I appreciate that, and I hope the listeners do too, and the people that are watching right now on Facebook. And I know we have to go, so I want you to tell the listeners and the viewers right here on Facebook right now how they can get your wonderful masterpiece, the Mosiac.
That's so kind of you.
You talked about all of the intersections of life and people, and it's humorous. It's great. So I want you to tell people how to get your greatness.
That is so kind of you. It's really simple. You go to Amazon, you type in the Mosiac, Daniel Levin, and you'll see the book is what it looks like, what you see behind me over my left shoulder. It's a story about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. But don't let the story fool you. It's not about, the book's message is nothing is as it seems. And when you realize that nothing is as it seems, then you start to wonder, what is it if it's not what it seems? And how could I see what it actually is rather than what I bring to it and make myself see? And it will be an easy to read story, but I guarantee you it will change your perspective on the way you live your life. If you're willing to make that change, if you're willing to confront yourself, if you're willing to see things differently, if you're willing to see that the homeless guy may be the best gift you ever got, or the road worker might teach you something about the potholes that you experience in life, or the street artist might show you that the way you put together the pieces of your life and the pieces of your mosaic would make for you a beautiful life or an ugly life, a connected life or a disconnected life. You start to see in the most simple, common, ordinary people the most extraordinary lessons you could ever see.
Well, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the time to speak with me today. Thank you for, giving those wonderful jewels and nuggets. And, my call to action is I want people to apply what you've heard here today. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. My friend Danny, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mirror, mirror, mirror. Everything you said, magnified 1,000-fold. I love you. Thank you for having me. What a treat and honor. And
I love you. I love you too. And call me anytime. Look, hey, us gurus gotta get together. We have to make sure that we stay connected. So I love our conversation earlier. We're gonna keep having great conversations. And I hope the listeners got, the business, the life, and the love. And we're just gonna keep spreading it. Danny and I, we're just gonna join forces at this point. We're gonna pick out our capes and we're gonna spread the world, but we're gonna make sure to spread it in a way that people know that to be human is to be great, and to be human is to be kind. Sometimes we have to take that look inside, like you said, and pull out our greatness. And sometimes we have to do it differently than what we've known. We have to get uncomfortable. We have to be ready, and we have to be willing to listen. So thank you, Danny. I really appreciate the time today.
Oh, my love. Thank you. Ciao.
Bye-bye. All right, listeners on Facebook, I'm the business guru. This is Candace Joseph. As with each and every time I sign off, the CEO is out. Bye, Danny. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Big love. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. How amazing was that? How amazing. And, this is why Danny and I clicked. Because we really believe in the power of the human spirit. It knows no bounds. If you operate in a universe that can help your fellow man, there's no better way than to go through life and impact someone. And impact can come in a different way. It doesn't necessarily have to be you. Like for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm getting someone's business straight or I'm helping someone build and scale up. It doesn't mean that. Sometimes it simply means being that listening ear and being a friend. Danny and I talked earlier, before I went live, where, we were both like talking to each other. Because this is how we connect. Sometimes people want the business guru, and sometimes all I want to be is Candace. And sometimes Danny said the same thing. Sometimes people want, the friend, and he gives them the guru. So sometimes, even as people that are here, and even as we uplift and we pull people up as we climb, we have to make sure that we are capturing the true spirit of the mosaic. And we have to make sure that people understand that we can all walk and journey through this life together, and we can do it comfortably, and we can do it without having to have all of these outside forces Only thing I have to say is, for those that enjoyed this Wednesday edition, just for joining me and watching, I want to say thank you for doing so. And I want you to be great. I want you to be air. I want you to be life and love. And just spread the love, spread the knowledge. Be that friend. Just be human. Talk to you later. Bye. This CEO is out for now.
HighVolumeMusicRadio.com. The business knowledge broker out.
Hey, yo, Guru, you ready?
Business, marketing,